How will you make certain that all 3 of our CLC campuses have the necessary resources and support? Whoever would like to answer first,
I'll start on that one. Financing is going to be difficult. Currently, our state is about $140 billion in debt. Just under 100 billion is the 5 state pensions, because of the pension issue. Basically what's happened there is over the last 25 years, at 1994 I believe it started with about a $20 billion debt. And that debt was financed in something that looks like a balloon mortgage. And we are in year 2017. This goes till 2045 I believe. And we've not even hit the beginning of the upslope. Currently there's conversations about making all funding local, all education funding local. And Dick Ingham from TRS, he confirmed that that's probably the way that they're going to go. That goes against all research, best practice research. If you look at schools like Finland, what they do is the funding is at the state level and it's fair for everybody. And if you really wanted to make education fair, you would bump it up to the federal level, throw in a cost of living formula, and then give everybody the same thing. Community colleges are suffering. What I intend to do is lobby and legislators accountable for not doing their job. That's going to be the start, because if you're going to rely on property taxes, Lake County already is paying the highest property taxes in the state and second highest in the country. So we need to find alternative revenue sources.
I'll jump in next. I think what I would do first is work with the administration and the Board of Education to review what the priorities are for each of the 3 sites. Of course, there's, as our candidate mentioned, funding constraints we'd have to consider, but I need to learn a little bit more about each of the goals and visions for the individual unique campuses and what the enrollment has been, or their specialty areas assigned to each of the individual campuses. All 3 site locations are part of the CLC family, and of course we want to support them in a way that works for our students, our residents, and our taxpayers.
I'll jump in here. The lack of funding is my #1 concern in the state of Illinois. For operational funds, we get $8 million a year, the college does. And we have only gotten, in the past 2 years, out of $16 million, $5.6 million. That is a huge hit for the college. We really need to be an advocate, need to go down to Springfield, need to talk to all our representatives about that. I don't think raising property taxes, and definitely not student tuition. So what happens? There's only so much revenue streams that we can go to. I think that we have to look at other revenue streams, bring into the college. We're doing all these buildings on the Lakeshore campus, which is great for our students in the northeast part of the county. We need to use maybe those buildings for some naming rights, look at our policies there, get some corporations to give us naming rights of buildings. They can have their name on there in perpetuity, and we can maybe raise funds that way. We can raise funds through private resources. I know the college right now already has a program with Granger where they have a warehouse distribution program where they're going to help with the curriculum and they're going to give the college money to have this program. These are the type of partnerships that we can do. There's corporations in the South Lake part, Northeast part, for Grays Lake. We go to these corporations, we talk to them, we ask them to be partners with us in these programs. They need trained workers. We need to give our students jobs. It seems to me that there can be a lot more effort in that area where we can go to these businesses, talk to them, saying, what kind of jobs are there? What programs can we put together so our students can get jobs once they graduate? And can you help us with the funding in these programs? I think more funding is going to be important to all our campuses. And we need those resources so we can continue to support the services and education of students in all our campuses.
Matt Stanton. As far as the three, we have 3 campuses, and I think that it's very important that Grays Lake is justifiably proud of being the home of the College of Lake County. I think Vernon Hills should be proud of the College of Lake County, and Waukegan should be proud of the College of Lake County. I think that by our presence in these communities, this is the College of Lake County, of all of us, but these communities need to be invested in these branches. They need to be there for the way they think about it, their identity, be proud of it. So I would see an increased involvement linking to the communities within the region, within the College of Lake County. I think it's important that we hold state legislatures to their role, to the law, to what's been committed to funding for the college. I have no problem getting involved with some of our own state senators and representatives to see that we do maintain the funding that we have. This is a political issue when the money's being chopped up in different places, and we have to let our legislators know. However we do that, let them know that this is a priority. This is something we're not going to give in on. This is a jewel of the county, and it's an essential resource. I do agree that we need to explore further involvement of some of our corporate citizens in Lake County. We have some big ones. They can be participating in this. However, I would respectfully disagree about naming rights and things like that. I don't like the idea of a College of Six Flags or something like that. I don't think we need to go in hat in hand looking for a handout so much as getting our corporate citizens to recognize how valuable the school is and what their role is as citizens to participate and encourage and nurture and maintain what we have here in College of Lake County.
And I just wanted to add, doing more community outreach. I was shocked to learn that more than over half of the employees working in Lake County, I should say less than half, have a bachelor's degree or higher. So we need to do a better job of getting, some of these populations that aren't currently seeking higher education involved. For example, there's going to be a huge employment deficit in the specialty trades. Well, why aren't we mixing business administration with that? Why aren't we teaching kids how to, do quarterly taxes, how to use QuickBooks, how to, fairly or competitively price themselves? These are very easy things, and once the baby boomer generation retires, which I'm the very last of, and I'm not that far away, we're going to have a huge employment deficit in that area, and that's not necessarily the population, that would be going on to your master's or doctorate degrees. There are a lot of people who would be very happy in the trades, and if, about half, are not currently seeking higher education, well, let's target that. That's a huge demographic, and those are the people who need a lot of support. And this needs to remain a college for the community, not a community for the college.
And I think if you get back to the question around the 3 different locations, every single one of those locations is extremely important so that everybody has the opportunity to get somewhere within close to their own community. Transportation getting to the site is extremely important. In addition, we know that having these colleges in different areas means that the people in that area that are most in the need of getting the education have a place to go. It's important that we actually support all 3 of them with the new programs that they have.
I don't think this other microphone's working. I don't disagree with a lot of the things that have been said. One of the things that's been overlooked is, to the best of my knowledge, none of the CLC trustees gets a salary for the work that they do. No high school board member gets a salary for what they do, nor do grade school. So you got to ask yourself, when you volunteer for a job, why does county board need to get $45,000 to $50,000 a year? Why do township trustees need to get the money that they get? Village board members up in Beach Park, for example, my former employer, makes $500 a meeting, if I'm not mistaken. Why do township supervisors need to make $60,000, $70,000 a year plus health care? So where I'm talking about, we can fund these things locally. The county board has a proposal for the 2020 ballot that we would elect a chairman at large. We would maybe shrink 1 or 2 county board people. I would respectfully suggest we probably only need 5 county board people and a supervisor. That would save a lot of money. We can also have enabling legislation that isn't co-opted to favor the townships, but to favor the voters, and we can do away with township government. We are basically built out. So the road and bridge functions, and anybody who lives in a municipality is paying road and bridge for the township, for the unincorporated area. These are dollars that can come back into our communities. And we're not raising any more taxes, you just keep the same amount level. And now we have the money to fund education. If education is the most important product that we want to develop in Lake County, Illinois, which I agree. The next thing we need to do is we need to take a look at education as a whole in Lake County. Have some kind of summit and say, what are we trying to accomplish between the grade school, the high school, and now when students come to the College of Lake County? When there is a huge business model, and I understand the necessity for a business model, that we have to have remedial education. We have, as board members, we have to take a look back at our own communities and say, what is going on in our grade schools and our high schools that students are coming here and needing remedial education? It's important that we provide that for a lot of different reasons. But the fact of the matter is, something has happened. And the information about those respective schools is buried in institutional research. We need to get that information out and working with partnership with our grade school boards and our high school boards to correct that deficiency and make sure that we're all in the same plane. And that when we identify, or the school district identifies, children that have problems with reading and math and some of the other things that are requirement for the testing to be able to advance and get your associate arts degree, if we can identify those problems earlier, they can be remediated earlier. Think about this. 3 times to get math or English, grade school, high school, now the College of Lake County. So we have to overbuild facilities and hire staff to meet that demand. It's important that we meet that demand, don't get me wrong. But it seems to me that demand needed to be met at the lower level. And so I believe one of the things we need to do after this election is have an educational summit in Lake County and begin to address where there are deficiencies throughout our educational system in Lake County. The other thing is we need to take a look and say, what can we do to shrink pieces of government that could be smaller and convert those tax dollars to education dollars?
Well, I think a big assumption has been made.
I'm sorry, for the interest of time, can we allow the last candidate to speak and then we can...
All right, okay, I'm good. All right, so I'm just gonna make this real plain and simple. Coming from my experience and working here as an associate dean, I just believe that you put your money where your concern is. And I say that to say this, my last year here in 2014, our office, we were physically here at the mother campus, the Grays Lake campus, where we have a plethora of resources here for students, particularly traditional students. And so when we transitioned to the Lakeshore campus, which is our sister site, I noticed that the resources are very different between campuses. My office was on top of the job center. I literally looked out of my office and I watched ex-criminals walk from the Lake County jail with what they had on and nothing in their hands to the college. And I asked myself, is this institution prepared to serve this type of student where they are? at this particular location? And I found that I had to answer myself, and the honesty was that no, we were not ready to serve that student. Because these students are coming from deficit backgrounds. When they have literacy issues, how is our marketing with this institution for adult learners who cannot read? If they can't read, we can't produce written marketing material. It has to be by word of mouth. So as a trustee member, my focus will be on the quality of programming that we are funding. And in that quality, what makes it quality? What are the ingredients that we use to benchmark success for the students? If we have a student success center, who are we really targeting as a student and what makes them successful? And I want to make sure that the funding that we do retrieve, the funding that we do have, are we funding the strategic goals? We have an AQUIP project for a reason. We have strategic goals for a reason. If they're just on paper and they have no movement and they're stagnant, we are not serving our community at our best quality. So as a trustee member, my focus is on quality, and when you focus on quality, you never have to worry about quantity. You never have to worry about filling seats. You have to worry about where can we find other seats. And so by me working here, I know the culture of this institution. I'm not coming from a theoretical standpoint. I'm coming from a real place. And so I know the power of partnership. So I agree with Julie when she talks about we need to leverage resources in our local community with other organizations who do have funding that maybe we don't have access to, that can serve a population that maybe this institution can't serve, and we can refer them out. And so we have to begin to build our bridges. We have to begin to look at our business community, and we have to begin to look at other federal grant funding that we haven't quite looked at to retain quality program, to retain quality staff members, and begin to invest and move the vision forward. We can't stay stagnant. We have to move forward, and we have to be willing to take risks, and we have to be willing to go after funding that we're not so used to going after to make sure that the vision moves forward.
One last comment and then we'll move on to the next question.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point that I think a big assumption is made that quality education isn't being provided, and that that's the reason why there are achievement gaps. We have students that come from other countries. You can't take them from, a beginning reader and then think they're going to be reading at, say, 1500 Lexile, which, is graduate level science, or, archaic vocabulary like the Declaration of Independence. That's not fair to the student, that's not fair to the teacher, and that's not fair to the educational program. We will always have kids that have processing deficits. There's dyslexia, there's I teach kids with cognitive impairments, traumatic brain injury. There's all kinds of reasons why students aren't where most are. You always have those outliers, but these kids can think, and if you give them materials that are appropriate, they can process the information, they can problem solve, they can be creative, and that's really where true intelligence is. It's in the creativity, it's in the problem solving. The community colleges have achievement gaps because they accept everybody, and that's the beauty of a community college. You don't have to get that test score. So yes, there is a remedial need, and we should continue to focus on improving that remedial need, but we should not be condemning it and calling it bad teaching.
But the point that 3 campuses do service a different population, we need to understand what that population is and make the quality education that those campuses need for each one of the students that are equal as well. So it is important that we maintain all 3 campuses and that we provide the same quality education for what the community needs, and look to the community to help with those different programs. We feed the community, we keep the community alive, we keep the students in the community, bring jobs to this area as well, because we have the students that are educated. So we need to continue to provide the community those types of students that do have the education to bring work into the area.
All right.
One example of that is the dental hygiene program. When the college was going to have it here at the Grace Lake campus, and then there was discussion, and then they brought it to the Lakeshore campus. And it was an excellent decision because residents in that community needed those services, and the students could go to the dental hygiene school and get a degree and get a good job. And those are the type of education programs that we have to attach to the different campuses and see where the need is.
We have to move on, I'm sorry. So.